Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Lorna Grayling and today I have the privilege and honor of speaking to Brent Stromme. Brent is a renowned and esteemed public speaker, an entrepreneur and coach. His passion and mission in life is to show others how to live their best life every day. Brent, welcome to the show and thank you so much for joining us today. What an honor and a privilege to have you here.
Oh, it's terrific to be here. I love who you are. I love your show. I've been able to watch a few episodes, and there's nothing greater than hearing people's stories. It inspires me. And so why would you not want to just log in and watch? It's just terrific. So thanks for creating a place and a space for people to tell their stories.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored that you're watching my show because you are my inspiration. I mean, I met you at this huge, big speaking conference, and you were just such a hero to me. And here I've got you on my show today. So, wow, I'm so honored. Brent, storytelling. I mean, this is such an important topic. Why is storytelling so important to you?
Because I believe everybody has a story. There's a reason you go to movie theaters. There's a reason why television has worked for lots and lots of years. It's because it's kind of an escape for people to realize that there's something greater happening out there. And they're able to thrust themselves into those movies sometimes, and they think, I have a story to tell. And because I believe that, I am in the business of helping people tell their stories, to get on the outside, what's happening on their inside. And in this kind of a world that we live in right now, all the challenges, all the distractions, all the negativity that seemingly surrounds us all the time, we need good stories out there. And because every person has a story, I'm just trying to help people figure out the best way to tell their story so that they can maybe inspire, challenge, and move someone to live and love better in this life. So yeah, storytelling is paramount to me. Every single day when I wake up, I think of how can I help people tell stories a little bit better.
And I can always see both sides to telling the story, right? So for the people who are telling their stories, it's so powerful because they've got this opportunity to turn their pain into purpose, right? And I know it's such a cliche when we say that, like turn your pain into purpose, but that's exactly why we are on this planet, is to make a difference, right? And sharing stories, man, I agree with you. It's such a big part of that. And then I see also so many people when they hear other people's stories, how they can relate to that and overcome amazing things just because other people have done the same. And then, you know, I agree with you, just we need this. We need stories and inspiration to just get through our days because let's be honest, I mean, life is just sometimes challenging.
It is. You know, it's interesting. I saw a t-shirt last night. I was at a carnival and it just said something on the front that you've seen and heard before, but it's just always a good reminder. It said, you have no idea the challenges that people are facing every single day in their life, comma, be kind. And it's just so true. Everybody's facing different things. And so one of the things that I try to do is just explore people's inside. I try to find out what's making them tick, what's making them joy-filled, what's making them frustrated or sad, whatever it might be. And so when you get people to start talking, to tell their story, kind of what you mentioned, it just kind of releases something and it's a healthy thing. And so it's not just to be entertained by a good story. I think good story is good medicine for the soul to inspire one another. And so, yeah, this is a day and the age of storytelling right now. And I think it's only going to get more and more important as we become so more isolated than ever before on our phones and our computers and such. We have this isolation happening all over. And what happens is that because we're created with this DNA to be able to have connection and be surrounded by people, it's counterintuitive just to try to be solitary. And so when you can get people to actually open up a little bit, it just brings them to life. And so that's kind of what I try to do all the time. I feel like I'm a freedom fighter. I'm trying to bring people to life, and storytelling is just a good way of doing that.
Oh, I love it. I love what you do, and I love how you're doing it as well. But rewinding a little bit of your life, how did you get into this business of storytelling? Because before you've become this incredible speaker and very famous, I might add. If people have not yet heard of you, they should definitely go and check you out, invite you to their next conference. But how did you get into this business of coaching and storytelling?
Yeah, I was a full-time pastor for nearly 20 years, and that's kind of where it started. Because when you're a pastor, you're kind of charged with the responsibility of telling the stories of God and telling the stories of Jesus, or just telling stories in a lot of different ways. And so I had to start telling stories. But you know what? I grew up in a family of really fantastic storytellers, whether we were sitting up at deer camp listening to my dad and uncles and grandpa tell stories. I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and all of my siblings are amazing storytellers. We sit around the table and we just love hearing one another's stories. And so I was kind of already in this world of figuring out, how do you deliver content that resonates with people, that causes them to take some action so that they can live better. And so when I was a pastor, I just started telling stories, and I wasn't trying to get so much information out to people, because I think information is good, but transformation is even better. And so I'm constantly trying to think through, when I'm telling stories, when I'm teaching, how can I help transform the life of the people that are listening? So it's not just coming in, but it comes in them and it goes out of them. And so I was a pastor for lots of years, telling stories and getting inside of people's lives. And so when that person had that shirt on that said, "You have no idea the struggles that people are facing," I'm telling you right now, as a pastor, all the stories I've heard over all of these years that I've had to retain, because I can't say what those stories are. It's hard. So there's a heavy weight that you carry as a pastor, but it's worth the weight. If people can unload off of them onto you, and God just gives us enough grace sufficient to hold on to it, it's okay. So I was a pastor for lots of years and absolutely loved it. And then I went from full-time ministry. I left full-time ministry just because I never saw my wife and I never saw my kids, because I started just building the church and building the kingdom, and it was all good. But we can talk about this a little bit if you'd like to. I just started kind of losing my identity. But then I started building business and companies, and started speaking for a living so that I could continue to try to free people up and live their very best, one and only life, from beginning to end, with great joy and great purpose, as you talked about earlier.
Oh, wow. This is so powerful. What you were saying now is our one and only life. Like, that is such a powerful statement right there. And I think we tend to forget that from time to time, right? That we have one opportunity at this life. And it's so important to enjoy it and to live it to the fullest. And then another point that you made there that was so powerful is understanding our identity. How do you think, did you ever truly understand your identity and you feel like you've just lost it through, being a pastor? Or did you never really have it in the first place? What do you think?
I think I had it. And I think what happens with a lot of people is that because you work so many hours a day, it becomes such a big part of your existence. You start getting lost in the work that you're doing, and you start identifying yourself with what you do instead of who you are. I went to my 40th class reunion not too long ago, and I remember going to my 10-year reunion and realized a bunch of my friends weren't attending that reunion. Then I went to my 20-year reunion, and a bunch of them weren't there either. So I started following up with them. And the reason they weren't going to the reunion is because they were ashamed of how their life had turned out. And they didn't want to sit around all night talking about the life they're leading right now of embarrassment, and people are expecting more of them because that's who they thought they were known for. And I thought, the next time I'm with all of these people at a class reunion, I'm going to ask one question. And it's going to be this: outside of work, what do you enjoy doing? And it's incredible how people just came to life. They would just talk about, I love skiing, I love horse riding, I love reading, whatever. We never talked about anything that they did. So at the last class reunion I just had a couple months ago, I have no idea what any of my classmates do. And I think they felt freed up because there was no judgment or anything. And so I had written in a book to a friend of mine on the inside of his cover, because he was starting to grow his business and started to get some fortune and fame. And I started to see his head kind of turn toward what he did and not who he was. And it's a dangerous place. So I wrote on the inside of his cover, and I love him so much. I said, Jason, always be known for who you are, not for what you do. And I remember he looked at that and he goes, that's going to be hard. And I said, yeah, it is, but you can do it. My dad and my father-in-law both died young. They never really got to retire. And so because of that, I've always kind of looked at my life, to your point, every single day matters. Every day. I don't order my steps. I have no idea what happens tomorrow. I'm not even promised tomorrow. If that's the case, I'm going to live really well today. And I have this burden to try to help everybody else around me. So if I get invited to speak somewhere, or if I get invited to a neighborhood party or a get-together, oftentimes the conversation just comes around, how are you living your one and only life well today? And people are really honest and vulnerable. And they say, you know what, I get caught up with work, or I get caught up with this. And I always just tell them, I know what you're doing is really great, but all I care about is who you are. And so after leaving full-time ministry, it kind of gave me an opportunity to not be just known as a pastor, because God called me more than that. He called me to be a son, but he also called me to be a husband and a father, and then a pastor way down here. And I kind of had them flipped upside down. I was spending most of my time and energy being a pastor and taking care of other people. And so I started losing a little bit of my wife and my kids. And because I saw that, and God said, Jeepers, Brent, I gave you these 3 treasures and you're burying them, I left full-time ministry and just hit the reset button on our life and started all over from scratch, not knowing a soul. And it worked. We just got our life back, and it's been a beautiful ride for the last 20 years of just loving every single day to the best of our ability.
Oh, and it just shines through you. I mean, every time I sit with you and we're talking and I see you on Instagram or doing things, your joy, it's like this inner joy, and it shines literally through your photos. You can just see the joy that you are experiencing. So, I mean, I love that. I love that about you, and it is tangible, right? And it's something that we all need to have, because we have this one and only life, one opportunity at this world, and we all have the same ability to enjoy what we have, even though some days it doesn't feel like that, right? Yeah. Some days, let's be honest, like, you look at your life and you think, oh man, yeah, it's just not happening, but we do. So what is one of the things that you help people with? How do you get them to start seeing the joy in their life and start to enjoying their life right where they're at? Because a lot of times we always kind of think, well, if I have this, or if I have this much money, or if I get this promotion, or if I get a boyfriend, or if I get a husband, or if I can have, there's always this if, right? If I can get that, then I'll be happy. And then we're always chasing one thing after the next. But how can we start enjoying our life to the fullest right now?
That's so good. I was raised in a family that didn't have a whole lot of money, but we were the richest family in town. There were 7 of us. We had 1 car and 1 small home with 1 bathroom. And with 3 women with 1 bathroom, it's pretty challenging, right, to get in there. But everybody wanted to come to our house. We didn't have a big television. We didn't have anything fancy. But my friends wanted to come to our house because when they walked in, my parents made them feel like Prince and a prince and a princess. They were just so excited to see my friends. So my friends felt valued and loved by my parents so well that they were gravitating toward being around people like that. So I kind of learned as I grew up in my family to be grateful for what I had and not aspire to something that I don't have. And so my eyes are always on the things that I have, and I'm just so grateful for it. And I know gratitude is something over the last 10 years, especially, that people talk about. And I'm glad they talk about it a lot. But I'm really grateful for the things that I have. And so when I start having conversations with people, I always ask them things like this. Hey, what do you have in your life that you just love? And they'll start naming it. And then I'll say, hey, what are some things in your life that are really challenging? And they'll just be really open and honest and vulnerable with me, even if I just met them. Because people just want to be known, right? They want to be seen. They want to be heard. So they start talking about that. And so then I say, so what are you going to do about those challenges? What's your plan? And the truth of the matter is, most people don't have a plan. They just kind of move through life and they kind of hope and pray that things just get better. And that's not really how it is. We've been given tools and abilities and gifts and passions to be able to figure out how to love our life. Yeah. And so I just have these conversations with people about how do we put a plan in place. So I'm a business coach. So it's a perfect example. I work with business owners all the time who are trying to make the business go or trying to grow it. And so they start asking them about their plan. And it's the weirdest thing. A lot of them don't have a plan. They're just hoping it goes well, but that's a dangerous way to live. Even as someone that's not even a business owner, it's a dangerous way to just wake up and hope things go okay. I don't. I wake up and I just look at the blessings around me and I'm grateful and I thank God for the blessings around me. And then I say, God, what opportunities are out there for me? How can I live and love in such a way today to help other people love their life? And I just start heading off into my day and I end up having conversations with people. And once in a while, I just say, only God could have orchestrated that kind of conversation. But the reason it was like that is because every single day I think about this. This is literally how I wake up every day. I wake up every day and my feet hit the floor and I say, God, these are your feet. Take them to places I would never go on my own. And I say, God, these are your hands. Help me to heal and help and bring peace and hope to people today that feel downtrodden, the least, the lost, the overlooked, whoever they might be. And so every day I look at that dock of my day as I'm going to get on that dock. On the left-hand side, there's a speedboat, a motorboat. And on the right-hand side, I look and there's a sailboat. And I can get into either one.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to get in the speedboat and the motorboat because I want to go my speed and my direction, but God's constantly calling me to go into the sailboat because he says, I want to take you places you would never go at my speed, in my way. And so I get in that sailboat and I put my sail up and then I let the Spirit of God blow and he just takes me places. And so I get to experience lots of miracles and really incredible conversations in my day that if I were orchestrating it, if I was in my own boat, I wouldn't have these kinds of conversations. And so these conversations, hopefully I'm blessing some people, but they're always a blessing to me so that we can help them kind of figure out some of the stuff in life.
Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to allow us to make more episodes and be inspired and empowered by incredible people. I love this analogy with the speedboat and the sailboat because I'm like this typical speedboat person. I like for things to go quick, and when I do things, I do them really fast as well. I have like a kind of a rhythm. Even when I walk, I remember my kids when they were small, they used to run next to me, right? Because just to keep up, because I'm just a fast walker, like even just generally walking. Yes. And so getting in that sailboat and just trusting God with his timing and his direction and his way and the way he, but it's also, it's something that you on purpose allow in your life and then have peace about what is happening, right? We plan our days, we decide this is what we're gonna do, and then we allow for God to move it and then have peace when things don't actually go as fast as we think they should, right? And then having that just brings such peace. I've had to learn that throughout my life. It's always been something for me that I used to struggle with, is trusting God's timing. I'm like, I can see a million ways of how God could have come through today for me. Like, what's going on here? But yeah, just to understand that, wow, that is super, super powerful. So shifting gears a little bit now, I just want to talk a little bit about relationships, because you have the most beautiful marriage and relationship with your wife. It is just such a special blessing to see the two of you together. And I know you have this little thing where when you get into an elevator, you kiss. It's like this beautiful thing that you do. Tell me about that. And I know people are even catching on to that. And how is that, how did you get to this place where you guys have this incredible marriage? And just, give us some info and tools of how we can do the same in terms of relationships.
No, thank you I love your kindness. It's so good. It washes over me. We've been married for 37 years, and we've been madly in love for all 37 years. It's been an incredible ride. That doesn't mean we haven't had challenges, right? It's an up and down life for everybody. It just is. But one of the things early on in our marriage, we started thinking through some things about who we were, our identity. Because one of the things that I love to do is shop. I love shopping. The other thing I love doing is cooking and baking. I love doing laundry. I've done laundry for 37 years. I'm doing laundry right now. It's happening right in the back.
You're like a dream husband, right? Can we clone you?
But I'm really bad at a bunch of other things that my wife is incredible at. And early on in our marriage, I would try to fix the car and it would just go the wrong way and we'd have to tow it in and cost a lot more. I'd try to fix a screen door and it'd break it and we'd have to get a new door. I was horrible at it. But I felt like that's the thing I was supposed to do because I was the husband. I was the man of the house. Those were the things I should do. And one day we just kind of had a come to Jesus meeting. And I said to my wife, I said, I'm just so tired of trying to be the man of the family. I'm so bad at all of these things. And she's like, you think? Like, you just have to affirm that, by the way. And so we just said, hey, why don't we just bring to the table what we're really good at and what we're passionate about? And so my wife, if you go into our garage right now, she owns all the tools. She has toolboxes, she has sandblasters, she has goggles, she has everything. I have one screwdriver, and I think it's the one with the pointy end. That's it. And so right away in our marriage, we just recognized that we each have different gifts. We are designed and created in a certain way, and we just gave grace to one another. And it set one another free. And it's been a beautiful thing. Sometimes I think that we have expectations that one another put on us, society that puts on us, but that's just not how we're supposed to live. And so right early on in our marriage, after a couple of years of just kind of struggling with some stuff to be who we weren't intended to be, we got free. And it's just been incredible that way. And when I was in full-time ministry, I mentioned that I just didn't see my wife and kids very often. And so when we moved back to Minnesota, we threw a dart on the map of Minnesota and we said, God, we're ready for a brand new adventure. And we're going to trust where you want us to go. And we moved to a little town. We had never heard of it, didn't know a soul. It was just us four starting all over. And I remember telling my wife, I said, what if we decided to be really intentional about our relationship? I said, days go into weeks and weeks go into months and months go into years so quickly. What if every single Friday night we have date night where we just sit and we sit out at the fire, we play board games or we play guitar and sing, we go to a movie. We're just together and we get to just reminisce about the week that was, reflect on that, and then we get to dream about what's ahead for the next week. And for the last 24 years, we've had date night every single Friday night. I can count on one hand the number of Friday nights that we missed. Wow. And so that's an intentional way of living and loving. And because of that, we end up talking about things that a lot of people don't talk about because it rarely just happens haphazardly in our day and our night because it's so busy. We're taking care of one another, or taking care of the kids, or our job. So we've set aside space and time just to be able to have those kinds of conversations. So we have these little tiny things that we kind of integrate in our life. And so what you just talked about, every time we're on an elevator, whether we're on our own or whether there are people in there, which makes it really uncomfortable, we just kiss. Sometimes it's just a really quick kiss. Sometimes it's a full-on lip lock, and we just don't care.
I love that. I'm going to start doing that. I saw that. I'm like, we're going to catch on and we'll send you the pictures.
But just kind of tiny things that are part of our rhythm of life. You know, the other day we went across a bridge, and every time we cross a bridge, we started doing this years ago too. We have these little things called leaf races. We go and we pick a leaf off a branch and we stand on the bridge and we drop the leaves in. And then we run to the other side of the bridge and we see whose leaf is winning in the water. And I kind of look at marriage and I look at life this way. I'm constantly calling people to come into the river. Just don't stand on the riverbanks. Get into the river because God is on the move. The river's always moving. And even though that leaf of mine might get stuck on a rock, I don't give up because the water moves, and eventually it releases and it keeps going down the water. Not in my timing, like you talked about, in God's timing. And as silly as it is, every time we cross a bridge, we stop and we drop a leaf in the water. And we just are reminded that we're called to a greater life and a better way of living and loving. And so we want to be where the movement is. We want to be where God is going and not try to do things on our own. So those are just little kind of things that we have just kind of put into our marriage and into our life that have just kind of trickled down to our kids. And now they're starting to be really intentional. We have 2 sons, they're both married. So they're married with intention. And we're just so glad to see that. If I was to pass away tomorrow, I'd miss a lot of things, but I'd just be so grateful that my sons and then my granddaughters will live intentionally with one another, the person that God's brought them to be with, so that they can have an impact on other people as well. So yeah, in my marriage, it's very intentional. But every relationship I have around me is intentional. And here's the last thing I'll say about it. I remember this saying, I heard it years ago. And it was this: you've never locked eyes with someone who doesn't matter to God. You haven't. You've never locked eyes with someone who doesn't matter to God. And so today I was at the gas station and had a great conversation with the clerk that was on the other side of the table. We just had a good conversation because I just was thankful that she would work on a Saturday. And we just talked about that. And I asked what she's doing after work tonight and told her to go have some fun and all of that. Because you never know what a conversation can do for somebody. So intentionality is really just a key component of who I am and what I'm trying to do and try to help other people do.
I'm loving every minute of what you're saying. I want to rewind a few things that came to my mind. Something that you mentioned there is finding your own identity in your relationship, right? In our marriages, is how important that is to have and understand our identity and not what the world and the movies and everybody out there is expecting of us to be. The second thing that you mentioned was extending grace to each other in the areas where we are not as strong as maybe people are, think we should be, or we think we should be. Oh, I love that. That is so powerful. It's just to extend that grace. I've learned in my own marriage as well. I wasn't always a very gracious person. It's an area where I think I definitely failed in the beginning, because I was very capable and I was just good at a lot of things because, I had great parents and I was taught a lot. I had a very privileged lifestyle, and I don't know, I was just maybe born with a lot of talents and I was just good at a lot of things. And that is such a dangerous thing to have when you are successful and you are good at a lot of things, because it tends to make us less grateful for people around us. So what an important thing. And then making that time, right? Having those conversations. I think that is so important, because life just goes so quickly, in our own lives. Before you know it, the day's over and you've been running through it. And in a marriage, in my marriage especially, we tend to talk about the things that is an issue in the marriage. Like, we need to do this, we need to sort out that, there's this thing that's coming up, my daughter is getting married, so you can imagine the arrangements that we have. Yeah. And so you just tend to talk about a lot of issues, and not problems as such, but things that needs to get done, right? And how important it is to have those date nights where we put aside these issues and things and just connect, right? What makes you tick? How can I be gracious to you and talk about deeper things than what is in your heart? What dreams do you have? Wow, man, that is just amazing. I love that. And then I agree, you know, the legacy that we are able to leave for our children is, I think, probably the most powerful and amazing thing that we can do, especially in a marriage, because I just see every single day how broken homes, it just ruins people's lives. It's super sad to see.
It is. You know, it's interesting when you talk about grace, it's just a beautiful word. I always talk about real love is not extending grace to those who deserve it. It's extending grace to those who need it. And the fact of the matter is everybody needs it.
Yes.
So I never even think about who deserves grace. I mean, God wasn't calculated with me. He didn't keep score. He just extended grace. The Bible even tells us, even while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. And so I extend grace all the time. Do I get burned by people once in a while because I'm extending grace? Sure. But I don't care. That's nothing for me to worry about. God will take care of that. And I just think that when you extend grace to people, because it's not a grace-filled world, it feels so different and it feels so good that people gravitate towards you, so that when you start talking about things that matter, they just start listening to you. So when I extend grace to that person that's working this morning at the gas station, all I said was to her, I said, "Thank you for working on a Saturday." She goes, "Oh, you're welcome." She goes, "Nobody's ever thanked me for working around here." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry they haven't, but I'm just grateful that you are, to allow me to put gas in my car and go on my way. So thank you." I guarantee you the next time I'm in there and we're going to have a conversation, she's going to listen a little bit more to what I say, because I extended grace to her and acknowledged her and honored her for working. Grace is the most powerful part of any life that you can bring to someone. And so, yeah, I received lots of grace from God. I received lots of grace from other people. So I'm trying to deploy it every day, wherever I go, all the time.
Yeah, and to be intentional about it, right? Like you mentioned earlier, is just that intention when we go about our days is to, because it's so easy to just go through a day and just follow our emotions and be focused on where we need to go, what we need to do. But to really be intentional about being kind and extending grace. Man, what a powerful thing. Oh, you're just like this incredible ball of knowledge. I just love speaking to you. So just in a nutshell, Brent, I know that you are this incredible, successful entrepreneur. I saw one of your posts that you had this whole training session about how you made your first million, and you're now teaching others as well how to do the same. And of course, you know, money does make the world go around. That's true. And even though we shouldn't love money, the love of money is the root of all evil, but we shouldn't not have money. Money is great to have, right? As long as it doesn't have us. Yes. But yeah, what are some of the tools and tricks that you teach people surrounding business and, you know, making those millions? Because, you know, everybody wants that, of course.
Yeah. So for me, it's not about making the millions. I don't chase money. I chase meaning. And all I want is for people to love their life. I want them to love what they do. Because some people are going to make $84,000 a year and they're going to feel like a millionaire. Some people are going to make $37,000 a year and they're going to feel like a millionaire. Because so it's not necessarily the amount of money that you make. It's really enjoying what you do. Because if you wake up and you go to a job or you own a business that you love, you're not fixated on the money. You're not fixated on how much income. It's how much impact that you can have, because there's nothing greater than knowing that you're making a difference, that your purpose is being fulfilled. And so I'm constantly helping people that are locked into jobs that they don't like to figure out how they can leave that job and start doing something that they love to do. So I'm training and challenging people to become entrepreneurs. I started a company about a year ago called 5 Words In that helps entrepreneurs start businesses and grow their businesses so they have freedom and flexibility. There are 2 words that really just kind of guide my path, and one is freedom and the other one is contentment. And there's nothing greater than freedom. Money is nothing compared to it. Trumps money every time. I'll take freedom over anything. And then contentment is a beautiful word. I'm content with little or much. It doesn't matter how much money I have. I'm content. Why? Because I'm grateful for everything that I have. And so one of the things I do for people is just say, hey, do you wake up every day and think, I love what I do? And if they say, I don't ever say that. And I said, well, let's figure this out. If you get one shot at life and work is going to be a large part of your life, let's figure out what you want to do. And let's figure out how you can make some money doing it. And lots of people don't realize that there's a world out there that'll pay people to do what they're really good at. And so we have people that might be a bank teller for 24 years, and that's all they've known is being a bank teller, and yet they're an incredible artist or a musician, and they could get paid as an artist or as a musician, but they think they're locked in as a teller. And that's not it at all. And so first of all, I just try to get them to a place where they realize that they have gifts and abilities and their purpose can be lived out every single day through their work. There's nothing greater than that. And then they'll start finding out there's ways to make money. And so I just start helping them realize what their value is. You know, I saw something the other day, maybe you've seen this too. You can go to Walmart and you can get a bottle of water and it costs 50 cents. You can buy that same bottle of water in a machine at the movie theater for $2. You can go to a baseball game and it's $8, or you can go somewhere else and that same bottle of water is $16. It's like, are you kidding? It's the same bottle of water. But it depends on where you're at and where you put yourself and the value that you see. And so I'm constantly helping people kind of move into different places of their value so that they can charge more and make more, so that they can have fuel in their tank to go further down the road and have greater impact. And so I love people and I love business. And I spend most of my day and night at the crosshairs of both business and people. So I'm a business coach, I'm a speaker coach, and I just love speaking. I just love being able to share and tell stories and give perspectives on where I've been in life. If I can help someone move the needle in business and life, that's all I want to do. And I'm having a great time doing it.
Brent, thank you so much for being with us today. You're just incredible. Thank you.
Thank you. What an honor and a privilege. Love hanging out with you.
Well, that is it from me, Lorna Grayling. If you want to get in touch with Brent, and I highly recommend that you do, you can take a look on the screen right now. His website and details will be on there. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And until next week, goodbye.